experience will pass. A love once felt seems to be lost. Thought comes in with this or that. The bliss makes space for feeling flat. We're holding on to at all cost. It's so simple, it's bizarre. Love is who you really are. Love is freedom, love is truth, love is consciousness, it's you. You're not that old repertoire. There is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. Sometimes clarity, sometimes smoke. You're sometimes rich, you're sometimes broke. You're going up, you're feeling down. It looked so great, but now you're drowned. Can't you see it's all a joke? Because there is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. There is nothing outside of love. There is only you. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, every experience, it is all a plain you. It is all a plain you. It is just a game in you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to those joining me on the Zoom live, and also to those joining me on the live stream, watching. But unfortunately, you won't be able to participate there. But yeah, maybe you'd like to join next time on the Zoom, and then you can actually get a chance to ask questions or have a dialogue. Yeah. And also thank you to all those who have made a donation for these open meetings. In principle, I do it for free, but of course, any donation that you offer, is very much appreciated. Yeah. So today's open meeting is on the theme of, with the question, are there any techniques that will help me become self-realized? So we'll get into that, to talking about that after a short guided meditation. So if you get comfortable and you can close your eyes, you can take some deep breaths, and with each breath, just slowing down, bringing the attention to what is happening presently. Letting go of whatever else was happening in your life before the start of this session. bringing the attention to what is happening for this body, this human experience right now. Noticing any sensations or emotions or thoughts. Whatever is here is welcome to be here just the way it is. Noticing any trying to do, any effort that might be made. And just in bringing our attention to any effort, there is a natural invitation for that effort to simply relax. Nothing to do right now. Just be here now with whatever is here. And as you are feeling, sensing, noticing whatever is here, there is also the awareness of whatever is here. And this awareness of is not any kind of experience. It doesn't come and it doesn't go. It is aware of everything that comes and goes. It is not in the foreground. It is the only background. And this is who you are. This is your true nature, the knowing of it all. This is your true identity when all other identities on the human level come and go. They play their game, but they are not who you really are. And no effort is needed to become what you already are. Because who you are is the background to any passing effort. It is the ultimate relaxation beyond any experience of relaxation. So then we can again bring the attention to the breath, taking some deeper breaths. And then bringing the attention to the sensation of the feet on the ground and the bum on the seat. And when you're ready, we can open our eyes. So the theme today is this question of, are there any techniques that can help me become self-realized? Well, there's a few things to unpick in that question. First of all, what is self-realization? Because if we're aiming for something, we need to know what it is, right? Well, first of all, what is the self? This is what we've just been pointing to in our meditation, in fact, that our true nature is the knowing of it all, the knowing of every experience, the seeing of it, the background to it all. That is not a small me, let's say. It's not the story of myself or this body, this human. It is that is aware of this human play. And the human play arises in who I am. So this is the self that we're speaking about. And of course, it is beyond all these words. You might resonate with the words, you might recognize what I'm pointing to beyond all of these words, or you might not. And if you don't, then it's probably because your mind is taking these words far too seriously and trying to become something that you already are. And these words are simply pointing. They can never really say it or show the way. They simply attempt to point to what you already are. And in fact, what you already know, maybe not always consciously, but because it is who you are already, you can't not know this. And that's why it is so simple and so obvious that it seems as if it is challenging or difficult, because we're so used to complicating everything, believing that it must be difficult. It must require effort to become this. Which is why this question of, are there any techniques to become self-realized, This is why we come with this question, because we assume that there must be some effort needed to realize this self, to become that, and to know it consciously. But although there are many techniques, of course, we could list hundreds of beautiful techniques that could very well support this human experience in clearing more, let's say, more confusion, or bringing more well-being in your human experience. When it comes to actually recognizing who you are, there is no technique that will bring that about. But of course, all of these techniques support a process of maturing, of clearing the way, let's say, the way that has no way, really, the pathless path. This process of maturing is necessary, because as long as you believe that whatever technique you're using is going to get you there, or as long as you have hope that by making a lot of effort you will arrive at whatever the goal is that you imagine is in the future, that hope perpetuates this belief that you are not already there, that you are not already that. And so as long as there is that belief and that hope, you need to do whatever it is that you feel you must do. You need to try, and you need to fail, and you need to keep trying and keep failing and keep hoping and keep becoming more and more disillusioned and disappointed, until you see more and more that there is nothing to do and nowhere to go and no one to become. But just believing my words here, or what you might read about this or hear about this from other teachers, is not enough. You have to know this for yourself. And you know this for yourself by trying and failing, by making loads of effort, by following every impulse to make effort to the end of wherever it takes you. Trying so hard, following the hope and the dreams and the beautiful ideals that you might have of a perfect one day when you might be perfectly self-realized, whatever that might look like in your imagination. And this process of maturing, essentially, it exhausts us. Yeah, it brings us to our knees. It humbles us. It makes us see that what we're searching for is not in the future. It's not about a perfect one day or a goal of becoming self-realized. It is about simply meeting what is actually here. And this is what waking up is about, actually. Realizing the self is about recognizing what is actually here, what is arising presently in and as the self. This knowing of whatever is here. And whatever is here might be uncomfortable. It might be disappointment or disillusionment. It might be painful. There might be grief. There might be all kinds of suffering. And of course, when we suffer, we look naturally for a way out of suffering, and we hope for a future where we have some kind of perfect solution for our suffering. And perhaps we imagine that this goal of self-realization will be the end of all of our suffering. But actually, it's not like that. It's about meeting what's actually here, even if it is painful. And actually, you could say that this is the end of suffering in a different way. It's not about the end of any discomfort, because there may well be a lot of discomfort, but it is about the end of hoping that whatever effort or whatever I do or however I behave or whatever I think or feel, hoping that something that I might do or change or fix might get me there, right? It's the end of that dream. And that dream is suffering. Hoping is, in fact, suffering. It is perpetuating this dream or this idea that this right now isn't it. And really meeting this right now and knowing that it is it, whatever it you might imagine. It is all that there is. There isn't another option. There is no escape, actually, from this. So it's not about a future goal of self-realization. It's about losing all goals and being confronted, sometimes in a very uncomfortable way, in a very confronting way, being confronted with what is. And it's very simple. It's simply sitting here, feeling what I feel, experiencing this experience just the way it is. So there is no technique required to simply meet what is here. So this is everything that you're longing to become. It's just not perhaps in the package that you hoped it would be in. It may not necessarily feel or look like whatever you hoped it would be like. But it is about waking up out of all of these dreams and coming back down to reality, here and now. Well, I'd love to hear from you now. So if you have a question or if you'd like to have a dialogue, please raise your hand. You can also type a question in the chat. Yeah, I of course love to speak with you live, but that's also okay if you want to type something. Christina. You have to unmute yourself, Christina. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Unmani. Yeah, it's just this. Um, yeah. But one question came up, so I asked. When thoughts are arising, there's no need to stop them. But if I follow, it's like it's I just came to the breathing or sensations in the body, because if I follow, it's not, I see it's not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm now going to contradict everything I've said and
Yeah,
and talk about a technique.
yeah,
But it's not a contradiction at all.
yeah,
Um, really, it's the paradox of the human experience, right? So, in the human experience, um, there are techniques that can help to remind us that the thinking does not have all the answers, right? And so one of those techniques is to when there is a thought story that's spinning, to simply bring the attention to the physical sensations that are happening in that moment. And then here it is, very simple again.
yeah, yeah,
So anytime the thinking's complicating it
yeah.
then the sensations are just like, oh, okay, this is what's here to be felt. But the thing is that we don't normally, in that moment, necessarily want to feel those sensations because they might be uncomfortable. So it does take some courage to just feel them. And the other thing is that we feel them not with the goal, or in fact, not with any goal, right? But I was going to say, not with the goal to get rid of them. So this is why it's not really a contradiction to what I was saying before, because there is no goal. So even if you were to keep bringing your attention out of the thinking to the physical sensations, now, yes, you would experience life in a more simple way, just meeting the sensations. But as long as you still hold the goal of one day becoming self-realized or any other future goal,
No,
you
no goal.
you will be doing that
Yeah,
with the intention to get rid of the
no,
stories or the
yeah,
sensations. But
yeah,
it's actually about just meeting
yeah,
what it, without any goal, without any reason, just because it's here.
yeah. I noticed that I was thinking, and then when I put the attention on the body, I noticed that I thinking creates that uh, that I couldn't feel these feelings, but then I feel and just meet this the
Yeah.
feelings arising, and then was, yeah,
Yes,
okay,
exactly. So you see the mechanism of the thinking is essentially to protect us from feeling uncomfortable.
yeah,
There's an uncomfortable feeling, then there's going to be more of a thought story, right?
yeah,
So if you
but
can see that and stay
yeah,
with
but
sensation,
it is always like we always think to not feel.
I mean, there's no always about it. They're just
Okay,
thoughts, right? There's just
yeah,
thoughts that come and go.
okay,
Can
yeah,
come with a kind of a theory about about it or a formula or something, but it's not always anything. Life is mysterious, you know.
yeah. Thank you. It is. It is. Oh, thank you, Unmani,
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you. Richard,
Yeah, good morning. I don't
hi.
know how to raise a virtual hand, so I'll do a real one or whatever. Great to be here. You
Good to see
know,
you.
at least for me, it feels like if I do a little mini self-inquiry of, who is Richard or who's looking through these eyes or who is whatever, that it kind of makes that background feeling a little bit more pervasive. And I guess if I was to say there was a technique, and I appreciate what you said as far as about techniques in general, but at least for me, it kind of brings a little bit of focus or a little bit of illumination to whatever the bigger self, whatever that is, a little bit more into um, whatever whatever is happening now. And it's been really sweet since retreat to feel that more, and that seems to be accessible, or I won't even say that, at least I can see it more. But the fun part too, I don't know if it's fun, but that's been interesting was, really feeling emotions in the present life even more clearly, and not like spiritually bypass and go, oh, whatever, la la la. And for example, this morning I woke up and there were the election results, and I was just like, just pain, heartbreak, fear, huge, so much. And it was really sweet to go spend time with friends and just say that, I'm just scared and I'm really sad and da 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 da. And knowing that that was an okay place to be, and I felt really alive in that, in embracing whatever that those emotions were, those feelings. And granted, I would rather be really hugely joyous in a completely different direction this morning, and I'm not. But it was almost like there was a beauty in that, or at least there was it
Yeah.
was acceptable or something. So it's
And
anyhow.
meeting what's here actually is a relief. I mean, chasing highs is exhausting. And maintaining a high is also exhausting. And so, actually, what we most deeply long for is simply to meet what's actually here, even if it is uncomfortable or painful. There's something so sweet about coming home to what is really here and no longer pushing it away or denying it or wishing it away, just being with this one now. Yeah. And also what you said earlier about the practice of self-inquiry, like asking who is here. Yeah, I mean, this is of course a very helpful question. And it can help with reminding us that the thinking is not the boss, right? Whoever you think you are, if there's a thought story going on, whoever you're believing that is about, this me that you believe in that moment, that question, if you ask that question in that moment, then yes, of course, it reminds you that, oh yeah, I'm not this separate me. Yeah, but at the same time, it is a temporary technique, let's say, that can be helpful for a while, but eventually you have to see that technique also is the thinking. And it's the thinking being a very helpful thought, right? And so there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but just to be aware that it's the thinking helping with the thinking. It's like one thought clearing other thoughts. And with a preference for a certain experience.
It's interesting. It almost feels like they're really enjoying both of them, both experiences or whatever, or just valuing, words kind of suck, but, both dimensions or whatever, the total human existence with also an awareness of something else.
Yeah. It's a paradox. Yeah.
Thanks. I do know how to put my hand down digitally or whatever.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Rose.
Yeah, I'd like to follow on from that, although I already feel like, well, what's the point? Because I'm just doing more of the same, but I'll kind of set anyway, which is there so I hear what Richard's saying and I relate to that in myself, and I feel like, okay, well, what could happen if I didn't do that? So what I'm feeling is the sensations come and they feel too much, and the sneaky thinking comes in to try and turn it into something. And so I'm just going to speaking out loud. If I allowed that or could see that coming in, which this afternoon I didn't, I thought, oh yeah, that was useful. I'm glad that the mind kind of rescued me by saying, well, that's just your conditioning, gave me a pat on the back. And now I'm just thinking, which was good because
Yeah.
it was saving me from the kind of trajectory of just same
Yeah.
old stuff. But now the thinking's like, aha. But how about if you just stayed with it? If you could just prolong that, what would happen?
I mean,
But
the bottom line, but the bottom line is that it's about the thinking not having a job at all.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
it's
obviously,
redundant.
it has the job of supporting the human in the world, right? Practical things or whatever. It's amazingly creative, but when it comes to, yeah, this me, right, and knowing who you really are, the thinking doesn't. It isn't in charge. It cannot know. And to not have any kind of job, then the thinking is free.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. 'Cause it's so desperate to have a job that the idea of redundancy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so desperate also to do it, to help, it has a good intention, but it just is hanging on because it doesn't know how to not have a job,
Mhm.
right? Because it's afraid of absolute chaos, right? And there might be chaos.
Mhm.
It's a risk, as we fall into not knowing, right? As the thinking lets go of control
Mhm.
and bows down to the ultimate master, right? Which is life itself. As the thinking says, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know how to fix this situation. I don't know how to make it better or to become self-realized or anything. I don't know. And then there's this gap, right?
And why is that so uncomfortable? I mean, it never used to be.
Things change, right? There's waves of this and that.
Yeah.
Could be that, just facing it in a more direct way in some way. Maybe in the past you were still protecting yourself in some way. I
No,
don't,
but I mean, when I say it never used to be, I'm imagining, back to the beginning of my life before I suppose that's because the thinking hadn't kicked in, maybe.
I mean, when you were a baby or
Yeah,
something.
when I was a baby, or, I don't know, I've got this thing about babies having all of it, the answers.
Yeah, I mean, the babies are that, right? They're just like open innocence, right? They are already everything that we're trying to become, right? But it's not conscious, and as adults, we have the possibility to consciously acknowledge that we are that,
Mhm.
to consciously recognize it and live as that. Whereas babies or maybe animals are the same, they're just that, and And there's no acknowledgement of that.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Rose. Margot.
Yeah, thank you, Omani and Rose. I want to again sort of continue on that theme of the last thing that you said, like consciously acknowledging that and trying to, well, there's the trying again, or living as that. So that's sort of a paradox in my mind, that on the one hand there's no goal, there's nothing to do, and on the other hand there's a longing for me to consciously acknowledge and try to express and kind of live as my true nature. Yeah, how does that
Yeah.
work? And then at the same time I also acknowledge that my mind is very sneaky, because just now I was talking on the phone with a friend of mine who's very spiritual, and she's also a psychologist, and she's very into like self-development and facing your traumas and healing and all that amazing stuff. And I was talking to her, I was like, yeah, I gotta go, I'm going to Omani, and yeah, she made me like see my true nature, and it's been so great and helped me so much. And I've been following her like for 10 years now. And my friend was like, oh, but it's not like you're enlightened or anything. And I was like, I realized that I was really like annoyed by that comment. I was like, yeah, but I am like I realized my true nature and that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean that I'm a perfect person. And I was sort of defending myself, and I was like, this is just a mess that my mind wants to get something out of this realization. Yeah, it was really ugly.
Yeah.
But then it's also again the mind judging that part of, yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
to disentangle the conscious realization of that and trying to live as that, and sort of grasping at the goal again and trying to be special spiritual me, and
Yeah. I mean, I would say, if there is, well, this isn't a technique at all, but I understand, I in what you're sharing, and I feel like this is the same for all of us, is that there's a deeper, like genuine longing that, pulls us to not to come here, or to keep resonating and wanting to wake up, right? And then there's the mind that wants to do it, wants to help, wants to become, and has these amazing goals of fixing everything and making it all perfect. And it's important to differentiate between those two things, and to trust that genuine longing, because the mind is trying to help that genuine longing, but it's helping it by actually not trusting it. It's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then it does these things that don't actually resonate necessarily. And when we feel into that genuine longing, then it's very simple. It might be painful, but it's simple. Right? It's just here now. Don't know what it means. Don't know where it's going, or what, where it's come from, or, don't know what it means about me. There's no labels. It's just, very ordinary, very down to earth. It's just very real. And there's no need to become anything more than what is. And in acknowledging that you could say that grows more and more in your lived experience. yeah, but it's not a technique. It's simply, it's hard to really kind of tell you or tell anyone what you can do, really, because the one that tries to do or wants to do is again the thinking that says, yeah, I can do it, and it kind of hijacks this genuine longing. So like there's the heart in a way that's saying, I just want to be free, I want to live this, I want to be this, I want to know this consciously. And then the thinking jumps into that, taking you off onto, some wild goose chase, right? Whereas actually it's just about feeling that longing and feeling the heartbreak of that. And then here it all is. And this is the self-realization right here, right now. But it doesn't mean anything special about you. And it's always alive and fresh now. So it's not like just because you recognized your true nature 10 years ago, it doesn't mean that now you have arrived at a certain conclusion or that you are at a certain state or whatever. It's always known fresh. You can't rest on your laurels, you can't kind of say, yeah, I know it now. I'm an enlightened person or something. No, because it's always known in not knowing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think I understand it. It's more about the longing really in the here and now, instead of, well, the mind going into, oh, okay, now I'm going to this and that, and I'm gonna become an enlightened person. And yeah, it's actually quite clear now, the distinction. I don't know, maybe it will become unclear in minutes, but yeah, thank you. Right now, the distinction feels
Great.
very clear.
Okay, good. Thank you. Richard, is that your hand up again?
Yeah, if nobody's going to speak, could you say a little bit then of the value of meditation, if you have a thought on that as far as this goes? Unless anybody else wanted to jump in.
I can speak on that until someone else wants to jump in. Yeah, it's very valuable. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's as I said, it's one of those techniques or practices that can bring not only physical and mental and emotional well-being, but also it can make us see more and more or get to know more and more the nature of the thinking as we sit and notice the thoughts, and can keep bringing the attention out of the thinking to what is happening presently. We kind of train the the servant, the thinking mind, the servant, that the stories of me are not so important. So meditation is like a training in that way. It's like training a dog, or training the servant, that these stories of me are not so interesting or not so important. And this creates more spaciousness in our experience. We get to know the tendencies or the reactions, the triggers more and more, perhaps. Although just sitting in meditation, we're not usually triggered much, right? So I like to see actually the whole of our lives like a meditation. So that when we are interacting with people, or in our daily situations or relationships, work, or whatever, that when we are triggered, or one of these identities, these me stories start to play out, that we can see it always as an opportunity to meet myself beyond the story, and for the thinking to be seen to not actually have all the answers, to not be the ultimate truth, without any goal to clean it all up or to get permanently beyond anywhere, or, but just to see, for the servant to see that it's not the boss, right? It's not the master, more and more. So you don't have to just be sitting meditating. You can be living meditation.
Thanks.
Although, sorry, just one more thing about that. Although a regular practice of some sort, where you devote time in whatever way, whether it is sitting or whether it is dancing or singing or being creative in some way, or just a walk in nature, or whatever it is, where you devote time specifically to be with what is here. This is a beautiful practice, especially if you have a busy life, right, the rest of the time. So it's very nourishing to give yourself the gift of a specific slot of time where you can devote to being with that. Thank you. Anyone else? Marit.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
A question came up like, and maybe I explored this before, but I can't remember the answer. But some people seem more self-realized than others. Although we all are it, we all are consciousness. And I can always notice it with people by looking into their eyes, in a way. With some people, there's more a density than with other people in the eyes. I don't know how to call it, but yeah, could you say something about this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the paradox, right, of the play of being human. That in this play of being human in time, in space, there does seem to be and the evolution of the human. And in fact, that's the theme for the next open meeting. But anyway, yes, there does seem to be an evolution that seems to happen in time. And it is paradoxical because, yes, we are all already that beyond the human, but just like the human grows and learns in other areas, it also grows and learns in terms of seeing that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my beliefs, I'm not my story, I'm not this me, I'm not this body. And the more seeing there is, the clearer you will notice a person is in their eyes or in their energy.
Yeah.
But, saying that, still notice how your mind might want to make that mean something.
Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful, of course, to resonate with someone in more clarity and openness and be touched by that. And at the same time, we're all that, you are that, and there's no separation. See, because
Yeah.
when we start to notice differences between people, then that's when the mind starts to compare and say, oh, I'm not there yet, or they are more than that person, and that person's better than that person, and this kind of thing. And this is
Yeah,
just
this comparison game.
it's just all thought.
Yeah, so you can see differences, but at the same time, this comparison game is a silly joke. It's like
Yeah.
the same with the rich and famous, and one will be always richer than somebody than somebody else, or it's the same with self-realization, I guess. Yeah.
We can
Same
tell a
mechanism.
story.
Yeah.
Tell a story about, they're more or less, but this is just the play of separation when we believe that story.
Yeah, and there will always be somebody more or less on the relative level in a way. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's, as we were saying before, there's this process of maturing that happens more and more in the human, in the relative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and with the openness, you see it more mostly in the eyes of babies and children.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's how you start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And Marit, I don't mind if you explore the same thing again and again, or in different ways. It doesn't bother me. So don't worry about remembering or forgetting the questions you've asked, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't write your answers down.
Why not? You should.
I do have the recordings, but I never watch them. So
They're always there just in case, right?
yeah. Yeah, if you die or something, then I have the recordings.
Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Marit.
Yeah.
And I see Dennis written, for me, every technique leads me beyond it to no technique, because I see that nothing will work. I simply end up being still and present, which, when it happens that way, isn't a technique, but I always feel like I have to do something to wake up. Yeah, I mean, if you can see that every technique that you do is just effort to become what is effortless, and then you get the joke of it again and again. Yeah, but sometimes we have to do it, right? We have to try and fail, as I said, to be able to know that. Any last comments or questions before we end? Well, the theme of the next open meeting will be the paradox of personal evolution and presence, which of course we have touched on tonight. And that's on the 20th of November. So I look forward to seeing you then, if not before. Yes, and also just to let you know that after this recent beautiful retreat in Portugal, at the moment I don't have actual dates of retreats on my website, but today we've just confirmed the dates for a retreat in the Netherlands in the summer, which will be the 28th of July until the 1st of August. So put that in your diary. And the booking page and the early bird discount will be on my website very soon. And there'll be also a retreat here in Portugal in April, but the details are just getting clear. So yeah, I'll let you know about that soon. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Lots of love. See you next time. Okay, bye.